Have you ever saved all year for that one family vacation and ended up stressed out about every single dollar?
Not anymore. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen.
And I'm Jo. We're two busy moms who have cracked the code on travel with points and miles.
We're here to show you how we turn everyday expenses into extraordinary vacations.
This is Wonderland on Points, where we share tips and tricks to help you earn free and deeply discounted travel.
Let the adventure begin. It's time for another episode of Wonderland on Points presented by Yahoo Travel. Today we are heading all the way to Thailand with our good friend Rhea. She has her very own travel podcast, Travel Party of Five, which I really appreciate and resonate with since I am a family of five who travels. I love hearing stories of how families make it work, especially bigger families. So you guys are going to love hearing from her today about Thailand. We are going to dig into it. Thank you so much, Rhea, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this. It was a really fun trip with a few hiccups.
We are excited to get into the hiccups. It's always fun to tell like the real side of travel because there sure always is a real side and then an Instagram side. Speaking of Instagram, you guys can go follow Rhea's Instagram. I will link it in the show notes for you. She has done a very thorough coverage of this trip in 3 separate stories. And so that will give you guys a good visual to go along with this because it's very in depth and we are not even going to be able to come close to hitting all the details. So we definitely want you guys to be able to get the full story. You can hear about it on her podcast. I'll link that episode and go ahead and head over to her Instagram. Before we touch Thailand, tell everybody a little bit about you and how you got into the beautiful world of points and miles.
Yes. So my husband and I have 3 kids. They are currently ages 6, 9, and 12. We live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I got into points and miles in 2022. And I stumbled upon it through a Choose FI, which is Financial Independence Facebook group. I stumbled across a different Facebook group that had like a free course. And I just one like Saturday took the course and then immediately called my husband and said, I'm going to try this. And he was just like, okay, whatever. And that's generally the theme to our relationship, which is fine.
I resonate with that.
Yeah. And so we took our first points and miles trip in March of 2023, and it has not slowed down since then. It was like, I finally was like, oh, this is how we can afford to travel with all these kids. So
yeah. Incredible. When did you decide to take it to the internet, start your podcast and your Instagram and all of that?
I just found myself searching in these Facebook groups for advice specifically for families of 5. And I could find families of 4 a lot of the times. They're like, oh, yeah, we have 2 kids. And I'm like, it's not the same. Like, it's truly such a big difference. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do it anyways. And I'm just going to start to share it. And so we started our podcast. Ironically, you guys and us have the same first podcast date. Like our first episode was on the same date.
That is wild.
Yeah. Isn't that so funny? It was like November 2023, I think. And so, yeah. Yep.
I love that. I love that. And I love that because I feel like we have a similar story. We didn't feel fully represented in the Points and Miles community as like family budget travelers. You know, you have this very specific niche of the 5 people in your family. I have no idea what that's like, but both of you guys are amazing trying to make that work. And I love that you saw a need and you're like, well, it doesn't exist, so I'm going to create it. I think that's incredible, and it has really taken off for you. We are all in the same podcast mastermind club, so we are friends outside of here, and we all help each other and encourage each other with our various travel podcasts, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, let's dig in. So this trip, first of all, give us an overview of what it was, how many days, where you went, and then we'll start with your flights.
Yes, so we did 12 nights total. So we flew to Phuket first and did 4 nights. Then we flew from Phuket to Koh Samui, 4 nights there, and then Koh Samui to Bangkok, 4 nights there, and then flew home. I guess there's really 13 nights if you count the night we had to do as a positioning flight to get to San Francisco to fly out. But so roughly a 2-week trip.
I noticed in your stories that you guys met up with some childhood friends of your husband. So is he from Thailand?
So he is not from Thailand. He has a much more interesting story and childhood than I do. He grew up in Japan on a
Oh,
military
wow.
base because his dad was in the US Army. And so he has so many friends that live all around the globe now. And one of his best childhood friends, his name is Terrence. Him and his wife live in Thailand now, and they have for a long time. And so we ended up actually spending quite a bit of time with them while we were there, which was really nice. It was really nice.
That is
That is
awesome.
so fun.
If you would have told me when I was a kid that I'd be like, oh yeah, we're just going to go to Thailand and hang out with like my husband's friend, like that sounds like very fancy and like not who I
Yes,
am.
it does. Well, tell us about your flights because you guys flew 17, I'm going to call it painful hours in
Yes.
economy. This was not business class. You had the whole family in economy, very long flights. And that was a 17-hour flight. And then you had a second flight the next day. So give us all of the details, what airline you flew, how many points it cost, and yeah, and then we'll get into an issue that arose on the flights.
Yeah, you're going to die when I tell you the cost. But let's start with the first. So yes, we flew from San Francisco to Phuket with an overnight layover in Singapore. So San Francisco to Singapore was 17 hours, and that is not an exaggeration. It was very long and painful. And at one point, my husband looked at me and said, I'm never doing this in economy again. And I was like, amen. I hear you. The funniest part is that our kids were unfazed. Not one time did they say how much longer. Like they were just so good about it, which was very impressive to me. They're good travelers, but I mean, I was dying, around the 12-hour mark. And so, yeah, they were troopers.
Amazing.
Yes. And so we actually did not use points to book either.
What?
I know, but let me explain why. So the cash prices were fairly inexpensive, around $500 a person, give or take. And if I were to book using points on Singapore, for example, which is where the cheap cash prices were, I would have had to pay roughly 39,000 points per person plus $1,000 in taxes.
Oh
And
my
so I
goodness.
thought that's a really terrible value for my points because
Oh,
it'd be
yeah.
almost 200,000 points each way plus $1,000 in taxes. And I happen to have this Amex offer where if you spent over $2,500, you got on flights, you got a $500 credit.
Oh,
So we
wow.
paid cash both ways for our flights and used two of those offers.
I
Yeah.
mean, that honestly sounds like the best case scenario. Plus, you got a multiplier, right? By
Yes.
buying cash flights on an Amex. So I think that was a reasonable decision. And sometimes, guys, you do need to compare cash prices for flights with a points plus cash booking because like I have had an experience when I was in Europe where I was looking at a puddle jumper flight and I was like, oh, this is great. It's only 10,000 points, but it was also like $75 in taxes and fees. And then I looked at the actual cash flight. It was like $125. I'm like, why would I even spend the 10,000 points? I'm just going to spend 50 extra bucks per person and save my points for a way better redemption. And so make sure you're comparing. I would always start on Google Flights before I would do
Yes.
anything else.
Amex has some really good offers for those kind of things, for cruises, for flights. Be checking those Amex offers, everybody, because that was a really great one. And it's pretty common that you have at least one or two airline, one or two maybe cruise offers on Amex that will give you a pretty good chunk of cash back if you pay cash for something. So it's always worth checking there.
So we spent a decent chunk out of pocket for the flights, but I have no regrets. I felt like I still got a good value. So we flew overnight to Singapore. We landed in Singapore at night, and then I booked a hotel in the Singapore airport. It was an IHG property. Again, we needed 2 rooms because there's 5 of us. We slept there and then woke up early the next morning and took our flight to Phuket, which was like 2 hours, so not bad at all. Yeah. We did have a hiccup, though, on our positioning flight from
Right.
Phoenix to San Francisco. Yes.
Right.
So
And
let's chat about
hear
that.
all about that story.
So, as a side note, Phoenix is a big city with an international airport that has almost no direct flights. So we position a lot either, I don't know, if we're going to Asia, we're positioning to either LA or San Francisco for the most part. So we really like to fly out of San Francisco. The Grand Hyatt SFO is in the San Francisco airport, and it's a fantastic property. We've stayed there twice now. Really easy for an overnight flight. So we take an American Airlines flight from Phoenix to San Francisco, and we are carry-on only. We have 5 away larger carry-on bags, and it works great. When we arrive at our hotel at like 9:45 at night, my husband goes to open up his suitcase to take a shower and realizes it is not his suitcase that he has. It is somebody else's suitcase.
Oh my
And
gosh.
before all of this happened, he also realized a few hours earlier he had left his CPAP machine. He travels with a CPAP for sleep apnea. He had left that on the plane. So he already had to go back and file a report. And fortunately, someone turned it in and they found it. So that had already happened. And we were like, thank God, like trip is saved, crisis averted. And then he goes to take a shower. And we also realized, oh, this is not my bag. So then he has to go back to the same people that he had to talk to about his CPAP machine and say, someone else took my bag off the flight. And we were in like row 9, I think. So we were in the very front of the plane. It was first class. And then we were like second row behind first class. So it was someone like in the first 10 rows of the plane that took his bag. And we know they took his bag first because he looked at me on the plane and he said, where's my bag? And I could see a black suitcase and I was like, it's right there. But he was confused because that's not where he put his bag, you know?
Yes.
And I just didn't know that at the time. And so,
Gosh,
yeah.
I just realized how, because in my head, when you were telling this story, it was from a baggage carousel, which that makes a lot more sense to my brain how that could happen. The fact that somebody did not realize they were grabbing someone else's suitcase from a completely different spot than where they put theirs is absolutely wild.
Yes.
Well, and I always think about a lot of the coverages for luggage. Sometimes when it covers or talks about carry-ons, I always think, well, that's silly. Why? How would you ever lose your carry-on? You would never lose your carry-on luggage, only checked luggage. But in fact, it does happen that you could lose your carry-on or have it be stolen or accidentally grabbed by someone.
Yep. And we did have to file a claim. We can talk about that at the end probably because there's 2 things we had to file claims for this trip, and probably we should do that all at once. But it was okay. So he files the report on the bag. He has a luggage tag with his information, name, phone number, email, all the things. There's no contact information on the bag that we have. So there's no way we can contact this person. And there's nothing. So anyway, so he goes back to the airport again. Thank God the hotel's in the airport. And he returns the bag. He files the missing claim. He's like, has anyone returned my bag yet? And they're like, nope, we don't have anything. So we go to sleep with just like crossing our fingers that the next day we're going to wake up and like before we can get on our 17-hour flight, they have his bag. They do not. Spoiler alert, they do not. Nobody has it. So he gets on a 17-hour flight, bless this man's heart, with the clothes he had on yesterday and his backpack and nothing else. And maybe halfway through the flight, we got an email from American Airlines that they had found his bag, AKA someone had returned it. Yeah, but because they didn't, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering if it went on to somewhere else with somebody. Like that was what I was picturing.
We were also wondering that, but I don't think it did because they had it at San Francisco. And so, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And
so what in the world did he do?
So I chatted with American Airlines because I have a little bit of status and I thought, let me do it. Maybe I'll get farther. I didn't. They did not lose the bag. And so therefore our options were to either have them hold it, have them ship it to us and we pay, or have them throw it away. And I'm like, well, certainly they're not going to throw it away. We can't do that.
Throw it away is crazy.
Yeah. So I'm like, is there any way you can send this to us? And they're like, yeah, we can pay, like you can pay and we'll ship it. And I'm like, no, like, can you put it on a plane? That definitely was not available for us. So we basically just were like, okay, we chose, for them to hold it. And when we got to Singapore, we had dinner. We asked at our hotel where, thank God the Singapore airport is phenomenal. It's like a whole city within the airport. And they recommended Uniqlo as one of the clothing options. So my husband went to Uniqlo and bought himself a whole new wardrobe And we got on our plane the next morning to Phuket with our 4 away carry-on suitcases and his Uniqlo bag as his luggage. Yes,
Oh, okay. And I guess we are going to talk about it at the end, but you filed a claim to reimburse you for those
I did.
purchases?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
curious to know if it worked, even though it's like technically not the airline's
It was
fault.
stolen luggage.
Teaser.
It covers
Was
stolen.
stolen.
Yeah. You'll have to wait and find out till the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah. You guys are going to have
Keep
to make it all
listening.
the way there with us. That's right. We love a teaser. Okay. So let's move on. You guys were able to use your Black Lane credits on this trip, which I think is awesome because so many people find that credit to be completely useless or they like make up a reason to use it. But you were actually able to do it more than once with your City Strata Elite card. Let's talk about that. Was that the first time you used it was when you arrived in Phuket?
Phuket, yeah. So yes, we each have a City Strata Elite, and you'll notice that's a theme. We have a good amount of high annual fee cards, and we generally each have one. So it's a whole thing. But yes, we have two. So it means we had 2 Black Lane credits to use. And we had used the Black Lane credit previously for like airport rides in Paris and had a good experience. And so it was available in Phuket. So I ended up booking us an airport transfer using 1 credit for the way to the hotel and then 2nd credit for the way back. It was in total around $145 and the credit's $100. So it was about $45 out of pocket each way. To be honest, I did not look up what regular transportation would cost because I was fine paying $45. It's almost an hour drive. It was like 45 minutes and a little bit longer with traffic. So I felt like that's a good value to get 5 people an hour each way.
Yeah.
So I had no problem paying that. And the Black Lanes are very nice. Like
Yes, they
the
are.
seats are so fancy. Like it's very ice
Feel like a
cold air
celebrity.
conditioning. You do. Yes. It feels very fancy. And that's my vibe. I'm always going for fancy. So yeah, would
Love it.
recommend.
The more fancy I do, the more I enjoy it.
It's a
It
slippery
does. It's a
slope.
little bit
It's
of
a slippery slope. Rhea told me recently that her next goal is no economy, and I
Yep.
am impressed. I'm impressed.
Let's talk about your first hotel in Thailand. So you used your Chase Sapphire Reserve edit credits for an IHG property that honestly seems like it was very much a steal. So what was the name of the hotel? Would you recommend it? I did see some pictures of the pools on Instagram and just the whole vibe of the hotel seemed very gorgeous and lush.
It was. It definitely felt like an oasis. So it was called the Dinso, Dinso Resort and Villas. It is an IHG property. So I cobbled together a lot of credits, hotel credits on this trip, and this is a perfect example. So again, we each have a Chase Sapphire Reserve card. Those cards come with 2 separate $250 edit credits. And then for 2026, there was also a third $250 hotel credit that could only be used at certain brands, and IHG was one of them. So again, because we're a family of 5, we need 2 rooms internationally pretty much everywhere. Except I was originally going to book the Hyatt Regency Phuket, which is an option for families, and they do have a family room that sleeps 5 people. So that is important to know.
Awesome.
But it is not available to book via points.
Boo.
So I was going to pay cash for it. It was around maybe $1,800 or so total for 4 nights. And I was going to pay cash. And I was like, that's still better than using up however many points that it would have taken to get 2 rooms. Because those Hyatt points are precious. Then I am realizing that if I want to use up these credits that we have on the CSRs, Thailand is probably my best bet because it's the cheapest place we're going to visit this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I find the Dinso Resort. I am able to book 4 nights, 2 nights at a time per room. So total of 4 reservations. And I'm able to use all of those credits. So $750 in credits per person, AKA
Yeah.
per room. So basically saving me the $1,800 that I was going to spend. I'm saving all of that money by utilizing these $1,500 in credits. And I only ended up paying around $50 out of pocket and around 55,000 Chase points total for us all to stay
Okay.
for 4 nights in this property.
Free breakfast.
The
Yep. Free
credits, the
breakfast.
$100 edit credits, like that's
Yep.
awesome.
Oh
And
yeah,
it
that's right.
just
And we each got $100 credit. So we had $200 in credits on top of that. Yep. Forgot about that.
Okay, so I have a question about how you
Yeah.
did this because you broke it into four, which means you were stacking your edit credits. Did you have them combine your reservations when you got there?
Let me just give like a brief example. So the first 2 nights I booked using one edit credit and a few points. The second 2 nights I booked using an edit credit and no points because I wanted the total to be over $500 because I wanted to
Yes.
use the second edit credit plus the $250 hotel credit. I know that's a
Yes,
little confusing if you're not familiar with them, but I think it'll make sense if your listeners are like learning about the edit credits and how it works.
for sure.
And then I just repeated that process for the second room, basically.
Yes. So this is something that I'm mulling around, which is when we go to Vegas, not combining my reservations so that I can get the $100 edit credit for both 2 night chunks. I just haven't seen anybody yet do that, so I have no idea if it's possible.
I think it's going to be hotel dependent. So what they ended up doing for us, which was they called it an upgrade, but in my mind, it was a little bit of a downgrade. So I always reach out and ask for connecting rooms. And basically, they gave us a 2 bedroom suite, but it only had 1 bathroom. And so it was enough room for all of us to sleep comfortably. But if we had had 2 rooms that connected, we would have had 2 bathrooms, which
Yes.
matters when you've got 5 people,
Yes,
you
it
know?
does.
Yes.
Very
So
much so.
So that was a little bit of a bummer, but overall, like no complaints. I will say the property, I would recommend it. I would stay there again. I do think it's a little more geared for younger kids or maybe couples.
Okay.
Like they have a kids room or a kids club. It's not staffed or anything. So like there's no one to watch your kids, but your kids can go in there and play. But it's a lot of like little kid, like crawling, just
Babies and
walking
toddlers.
babies.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Very good to
Yeah.
know.
And just to fill in the dots for anybody who was a little confused by that, when they were talking about combining the edit credits, what we've learned is that when you stack 2 nights with an edit credit and another 2 nights with the edit credit, typically the edit bookings come with $100 to spend on property. But what we've learned by people doing this for 4 nights in a row is they don't give you the $100 twice. They should, in my opinion, because that's what comes with the edit booking, but they don't. So that's why Joe was saying, I don't know if we want to combine them because then they would only give us $100 to spend on property versus if it's separate, maybe we will get the $100 on both reservations.
Yep, exactly. All right, moving on because we're so trying to stay on track time-wise here. While in Phuket, you guys visited an elephant sanctuary, and this is super, super important to me, and you pointed this out, was that this is done in a really ethical way, because to this day, there are so many opportunities for people to do animal tourism of all kinds that is very, very unethical, and the animals are treated absolutely horribly. I just saw a reel that was a girl pointing out, like, in 2026, there should not be riding elephant excursions. Like, you should know better at this point. And this is true because the places that do that do not treat their animals well. And so I am excited that you found a place where you can have this experience with this absolutely stunning, amazing creature in a way where the elephants actually benefit from the process and are not just suffering under our delight at hanging out with them and riding them.
Yeah. So when we went to Japan last year and we went to like a pig cafe and we actually felt horrible afterwards because we realized that the pigs were really stressed. And so we had a lot of
Oh,
regrets about paying money for that experience and we would never do that again. And so I knew that we wanted to see elephants, but I knew that we wanted to try to do it like you said, in an ethical manner. And so I did a lot of research and you're right. There's so many places where you can still ride elephants, but our friends in Thailand were like, do you guys want to ride an elephant? And I'm like, absolutely not. No, we don't. You can bathe with them, which is actually very unsanitary and stressful for them. And so the place that we went was called the Phuket Elephant Nature Reserve. I booked it through Viator. I will send you guys the link because there's a
Yeah.
couple that have very similar names. So I'll send you the links of the one that link of the one that we went to. They we did the half day program. I think there's also a shorter one. I want to say it was around $85 a person or something. I don't know. I felt like it was a expensive, but expensive because there's five of us, right?
Yes.
$85 is not bad, but 85 times five is kind of a lot. Um, but it was the experience that we were looking for. And so I felt okay about that. We also didn't have a lot of other activities that we booked on this trip. So
Hmm.
I didn't mind spending that. And you get to walk around the reserve, and there are different elephants. I think they had 5 or 6 there at the time that we were there. They feed them. And so they come up to you, but you're not allowed to touch them. I really wanted to touch them,
Oh, of
but you're not allowed
course. I
to.
just
I know.
snuggle with me. That's all I want.
I
What if
know.
they touch you? Is that fine?
So they each have like a handler or a guide with them, and they really try, like, because they'll come right up to you. And I mean, I think there's a little bit of the element of unknown. Like,
Hmm.
they're not 100% sure what the elephant is going to do, and they want you to be safe. So they're like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, like, here, have some sugar cane or whatever. You get to cut up food for the elephants, and you get to dump it on a tray versus feeding them by hand. So you put
Okay.
the cut up stuff on a tray, and then they come and eat it. And they also they call it a cooking class. It is not a class. There's no participation on your end. It's more like a cooking demonstration, and then they feed you like a lunch. And the food was actually quite good. They make pad thai and whatever, which, fun fact, people like Thai people don't really eat pad thai. It's a very like
As
Americanized
American.
dish.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's so funny.
all in all, it was a great experience.
That's awesome.
So after this, you guys were ready for the next stop of your trip. So you took an inter-Thailand flight, and you ended up doing that twice because you did it to stop number 2, and then you did it to your third stop, Bangkok, as well. How did you book those flights? Were they expensive? Were they pretty affordable? Were you able to find them on points?
So we did pay cash, and they were a little expensive in my opinion, but I think it's because I waited too long to book. So if you're going to do a
Mm,
similar trip, I would recommend booking as soon as you can. Book it 9 months out, whenever you're able to book it, I would book it. We ended up paying like around $1,300 total for each of not for each, for those flights. So the flights from Phuket to Koh Samui and the flights from Koh Samui to Bangkok in total cost around $1,300.
okay. That's not terrible for five
It's not
people.
terrible. I know, it's always like, as a family of five, I just have to really adjust what I think is a lot,
Yes.
because it's everything times five.
Yeah, absolutely. In Koh Samui, you found a Category 5 Hyatt Regency. It looked absolutely incredible. Tell us about that property and how much you booked it for at the time. And also, do you know whether or not it went up in the recent devaluation?
Yeah, so it was a phenomenal property. Would absolutely recommend. I think Koh Samui is probably our favorite of our 3 stops. It is a Category 5, and I don't think it went up in price at all, because I'm pretty sure we paid
Amazing.
20,000 points a night and per room, and that is what it still is now. And off season, I think you can even get it for 15,000 points a night. So yeah, I
And
don't
it
think it was.
looked so amazing.
It was
Like there's a
amazing.
beach, right?
Yeah, it's beachfront, and they have a kids club that is staffed, and you can leave your children there. Like,
Mm.
my husband and I were like, "Oh, but we can't like leave the property, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can." And we were like, "What?" So we
Wait,
like went and got a
free
massage one day.
babysitting while you
Yeah,
guys go explore?
yeah,
Heck yes.
yeah. So
Did
we
your
did it
older kids
twice.
like it?
Our oldest didn't love it. He was like
Mm.
right at the age cutoff too, where like next year he probably wouldn't be able to do it, but he did it, and it's fine. Our little two
Honestly,
really liked it. They have crafts and stuff, and some of those crafts cost a little bit extra, but we were like, Fine, we'll pay it, whatever."
for 15 or 20,000 points a night to have like a fully staffed kids club is wild. What a
Yes, and
steal.
yes, and they have a club at this property. So that, in my opinion, like, for me personally, it would have been plenty to make a dinner. My husband and my kids are a little bit fancier and like really like a lot of meat, and so we didn't have dinner in there, but it would have been enough for me. And they had like wine and cocktails and everything at night. So if
Amazing.
you either book a club access room or you have status, you would have access to that club too.
Fantastic.
Now, there was one horror story, which for me, as a very fair skinned person who has had skin cancer, by the way, it
Me too.
very, yeah, this would have been very upsetting to me on multiple levels. So, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is you bought sunscreen at the hotel, like in the gift shop, bought some sunscreen. You used it and you reapplied. I mean, you used it a lot. And you are people who live in Phoenix, like you're used to some pretty intense sunlight. But it appeared that the sunscreen did not work at all.
Correct. Yes, correct. It was really funny because like when I was posting this on Instagram at the time, people were messaging me like advice, like you really gotta, reapply and you really gotta stay in the shade. And I was like, listen, I do not need advice on sunscreen. I live in the desert. Okay. I was like, I very much know how to not get burned. I was like, that is not the issue here. So yes, I believe the sunscreen was fake.
That
So
is
it was
wild.
most of the bottle was in Thai, but there was a big 60 on the front, which you would be inclined to think that's the
Yeah.
SPF, right? Like
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
after we got burned, I was looking at it with the Google Translate, trying to understand, like, did I misunderstand this? And I don't believe that I did. There was nothing like on there to indicate that that was not the SPF. So I don't know what happened, but for background, I am very fair skinned. If you've never seen me, but my husband is from Guam, like originally. So he's Pacific Islander. And so he has dark skin, and all my kids have mixed, aka like more brown skin, and they almost never burn. And even my kids were burned. And they were like, why does my skin hurt?
Oh
And I'm like,
no, they didn't. They
that's a
hadn't
sunburn.
felt it. You're like, welcome to
Yeah.
mommy's life.
Yeah. It was, I obviously had it the worst, even though I did reapply and was in the shade most of the day. So like my legs were swollen. It was really painful. Like it hurt when I stood up to walk. It felt like my skin was going to split apart. It was so
Oh my
painful.
gosh.
It's tough.
Did you get
Sunscreen is one of
sunsick?
those things that I can see why you're like, I'll just buy it when I get there because you can't have
Right.
liquids and things in your suitcase, and you guys were doing carry-on only. Like I can totally see why you would buy it there, and that is crazy that it wouldn't work. So I guess the moral of the story for everyone is definitely bring your own sunscreen. Don't trust whatever is provided at a resort.
Yeah, when we went to Puerto Vallarta recently, we were obnoxious. It annoyed me to have to do this, but I didn't want to check a bag. I had a whole liquids bag full of tiny little individual bottles that I'd squeezed sunscreen into. And then I also bought some little mini travel sprays, which, by the way, are absurdly expensive. Just absolutely absurdly expensive. So it is obnoxious because you go through it so fast. You're squeezing out all those tiny little bottles. But I guess in this situation, that is the way to go. I just didn't want to pay resort prices for sunscreen. That was my only reason of doing that. It never even occurred to me that sunscreen could be fake.
Oh yeah, and it cost $30. I should add that. So I paid $30 for this to
Oh
happen.
my
Um,
goodness.
I did not notify the hotel. I don't know. I was like, what are they going to do at this
Give you
point?
points.
I guess maybe that didn't occur to me, but maybe too late now. But here's my other tip. So when we went like the next day to buy other sunscreen, we went to like a 7-Eleven up the street, and they were all sealed. So they all were like plastic wrapped. And the one that we bought was not. So that would be one tip I would have is if you are going to buy it in another country, look for this, like make sure it's sealed.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
scary. Because the long term potential effects, especially for you guys who have had skin cancer, my mom and grandpa and grandma have all had skin cancers in my family. Like, this is more serious than just the experiencing a trip with a major sunburn, which, by the way, is absolutely horrible. Did you get sunsick? Were you like having chills and throwing up? Because that has happened to me with extreme sunburn.
I wasn't sunsick at all, but literally the next day we had paid like $500 to go on this boat tour that was an all day boat tour. And I had to go sunburned, and it
Oh,
was not very enjoyable for me. So,
awful.
but it was like, well, we paid so much money that we cannot cancel this. So we are going.
Yes. Well, even though it was sad and awful because you were sunburned, I feel like we should still talk about this because it
Yes.
did look very beautiful and wonderful.
It was beautiful. So the boat tour goes to Ang Thong National Marine Park, which is a protected like marine park, but like it's literally on the ocean, which is kind of crazy. So it's all these like beautiful like rocks and islands kind of jutting out of the sea. And I booked this Survia tour. It's a bigger boat. It almost looks like a pirate ship a little bit. It was red. And you drive around to a couple of islands. You stop and have the option to kayak from like one beach to the next beach if you want to. They have a at the second beach stop, there's a little hike you can do, and there's also time for snorkeling. And they serve you lunch on the boat, and it was a fun experience. Really glad that we got to do it and see it. My husband just kept saying, like, none of these videos do this justice because it's truly so
Yeah.
beautiful. And like when you look at the videos, it's like, okay, looks all right, but it's gorgeous. So I would recommend it. I can send you the link to the tour that we did. Here's what I'll say though. The boat goes kind of slow. So there's a bit of a trade-off when if you want to do this from Koh Samui is you can get a faster boat, but it's going to be more motion. And we have a couple kids that get motion sick.
Yep.
Yes. I was just
Yeah.
going to ask about the
I
motion
was
sick.
also going to ask.
So we went to Kauai last year and we did the Nepali coast boat tour. And that was a smaller boat and everyone took Dramamine twice. And still by the end, we were like couple of us were like a little bit like, ugh. No one got sick, thankfully, but I had that in my mind of like, we have to have a bigger boat than that boat. And so that's why we booked this one because it definitely was bigger. But the downside is you spend more time getting to and from the places and less time at the places. So,
Right.
and we still gave the Dramamine. Everyone took the Dramamine. Because there was so much downtime, my kids fell asleep like twice. Partly from the
Well, and
Dramamine, partly
Dramamine,
because there's
yeah.
nothing to do. Yeah. At one
Okay.
point, the boat operators gave our kids a little Travel Connect 4 game to play. So that was nice because I had no game. I had nothing. No games
Right.
for them to play, nothing. So, and you can't like stream a video in the middle of the ocean. So,
Nope. Hopefully, guys, by the point that this episode comes out, hopefully I will have a very solid review for you of the Relief Band because I'm going on a boat in just less than a week and we will see if it is another life-ending experience like all my other boat experiences or if I can survive it without medication. I'm literally testing this for you guys. Like I am terrified.
is it a cruise? Are you going on a
It
cruise?
is. It is a sailboat. It is a sailboat tour
Okay.
around Prince Edward Island.
Ooh,
No,
okay.
yeah, it is like perfect storm for motion sickness. But Relief Band has sent us relief bands to test out, and they've
Nice.
also given us a very generous discount code for our audience that we want to share with you guys. But I'm not gonna tell you I love something until I try it. And so I am excited because as soon as I posted on Instagram about getting one, I got so many messages from people telling me like this thing saved my life. So I am very hopeful that I will be able to tell you guys soon that there's a
Code Wonderland.
device
Code Wonderland. Give them the code, Joanna.
that there's a well, I mean, yeah, go buy one and use it. There's a money back guarantee, and our code gives you 25% off. And they said that they do not give out 25% off codes. They said the best you're gonna find from most codes is 20% off. So I felt really excited about that. But I am excited to have a real life story because motion sickness interrupts all kinds of cool experiences, and I suffer from it to an extreme degree. So it is nice to know that going on a little bit of a bigger and slower boat was an easier experience for you guys. But it's also nice to know that there might be something you can wear on your wrist that actually helps a lot.
Totally.
TBD.
Yes, please report back. I'd love to know.
I absolutely will.
We will get right back to today's episode, but I am so excited to share with you guys that I tested out the relief band that we've been talking about, and it was incredible. When I was on Prince Edward Island, we went on a 3-hour sailboat ride, and half of our journey was incredibly choppy. Just as choppy as my recent experience in Puerto Vallarta, where I spent the entire time laying on a couch, incredibly motion sick. And let me tell you, I did not have a single trace of motion sickness on this boat ride. I was literally able to just enjoy it and soak it all in and have a good time. I really could have never imagined this experience, and I am so unbelievably grateful. I've even tested it out in airplanes and as a passenger in a car where I stared at my phone for an hour just to test whether or not I was going to get motion sick, and I did not at all. This thing is going to be such a game changer for the rest of my life, and I honestly am so incredibly emotional and so grateful that they've chosen to partner with us. We are so excited to offer you guys a 25% coupon. This is such a generous deal on their part. I really am kicking myself for not trying this sooner. And don't forget that this is not just for motion sickness, it's for nausea of all kinds. Whether you're on a GLP-1 or you're going through cancer treatment or you have morning sickness or you get nausea from migraines, it works for all of this and so much more. And they have a fantastic 14-day money-back guarantee. You can find the link in our show notes or head to reliefband.com and use the code Wonderland at checkout. Okay, back to the episode.
I will say about the crew on this boat, they were phenomenal. So our youngest is 6, and she's never been snorkeling before, okay? But they had a snorkeling thing, and so we were like, yeah, let's try. Like, who gets to say the first time they tried snorkeling was in Thailand, right? Like, that's a fun thing. So my boys and my husband are off and having a grand old time, and they had a little raft for her that the guy literally just followed us around in the water with the raft until she got tired. And then like she got to go in the raft for the rest of the time. So the rest of us could snorkel. So they were very good with the kids. Like I would definitely recommend that for sure.
Was the snorkeling good? Was it very clear? Lots to see?
Yes. My husband and my kids were like, we saw so many fish. And I heard another guy also telling his wife, that was phenomenal. I saw so many fish. I didn't see that many. And I was right next to them. So I'm like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. I did see some fish, but it seems like other people had a better experience than I did. So I'm going to say yes, the snorkeling was great. I just personally didn't get to see a lot of fish.
Okay, good to know.
Well, after this resort stay, you guys went back to the big city. You went to Bangkok on another inter-Thailand flight. And this time you were pretty bougie this whole trip, but this next stop was at the Park Hyatt, which everyone in the Hyatt world knows that Park Hyatts are, the fanciest of the fancy. So how many points did you pay for the Park Hyatt, or did you use other hotel credits from another one of your credit cards?
Yes, both. So this hotel was phenomenal and definitely the fanciest hotel we have ever stayed at. I want you to remember that we came from Koh Samui, which is like a beach town. So we roll in with our sunburn and our shorts and our flip-flops, okay? And my husband looks at me after we check in and he goes, I have never wanted to get out of a hotel lobby faster because I've never felt like I didn't belong more than I did right now. And personally, I was like, well, I felt right at home. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I think this is great. But the hotel was wonderful. So I booked one night using points. It was 25,000 points a night, and we stayed for 4 nights, so 100,000 points. And this is a category 6 Hyatt. I think it rivals a category 8 though. The service was incredible, and we'll talk about that when we get to our second hiccup of the trip. So first room 25,000 points a night. Second room, I booked 4 separate reservations using 4 FHR credits from our Amex cards. So between the two of us, we have a decent amount of business platinum cards, and each of them has a semi-annual $300 Fine Hotels and Resorts credit to use towards the hotel. So these cards have a high annual fee. So when I say we're getting a $300 credit, it's really something we have prepaid by paying the annual fee. So keep that in mind as you're listening. But I used 4 credits to book 4 individual nights. I did one in my name, then one in his name, then one in my name, then one in his name. And I alternated it that way because I was maybe hoping they would give us the $100 credit 4 times, because if you book with Fine Hotels and Resorts, same thing with the edit credits, you get breakfast for two included plus $100 food and beverage credit on property. That didn't end up happening. We only ended up getting $200 in credits, but still, yeah.
What I do love about that credit is that it doesn't have a 2-night minimum.
Yes.
Exactly.
Love that.
Yep. So all in all, we ended up paying around $400 out of pocket after the $300 credit per night. So that means that for that one room, the total for 4 nights would have been over $1,600 without the
Amazing.
credits. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an incredible use of those too. That was a really good idea. It's a bummer about those $100 credits though. What were you able to use the $200 on that you did get? Just an
We ended
extra
up
meal?
having, yeah, we had dinner the first night at their rooftop like steakhouse. As a side note, when we checked in, we asked the guy, like, okay, is there like a dress code? Is it fancy? He's like, oh no, it's very casual, blah, blah, blah. So we're like, okay, we'll have dinner there because, it's travel day, whatever. So we go up there. It is a beautiful restaurant. It was incredibly expensive. Like the $200 didn't cover our entire meal. Like we still had to pay some out of pocket. I mean, like they made a Caesar salad at the table.
That was how they did that in Puerto Vallarta. They made the dressing right in front of you at tableside. And I was like, oh my. Oh
Yeah.
my.
So I was
Never
like,
seen
yeah,
anything
and like
like it.
it wasn't that good. It wasn't very good. So I was like, oh, that's disappointing. The other food was fine, but I probably wouldn't go back and eat there again,
That's important
So
for people to know when they're they're going to these places trying to decide where they're going to eat, to know that probably just skip the restaurants and go elsewhere is important. So I guess we should get to another one of your hiccups. You said second, but I feel like I've been counting like CPAP,
True. Yeah.
luggage, sunburns. I think we might be at four
That's
hiccups.
true.
And if you haven't gone on Kelsey's Trip Tale podcast to do a Trip Fails episode about this yet, it's coming. You should definitely tell her about this.
I should.
The stomach bug hits.
The stomach bug hits, yes. It's worth noting that on our 17-hour flight, so let's rewind a smidge, someone a few rows in front of us spent several hours of that flight throwing up. Okay. Yes.
Ew.
And yes, it was disgusting, actually.
Like out in their seat, throwing up, like
in
not
their
in the
seat.
bathroom?
Yes, correct. Yes. And I'll spare you the details, but let's just say when we deplaned finally after 17 hours, you could see it. Let's just say that. It was bad.
Oh my.
I don't do well with other people's
Yeah.
vomit. Oh,
The
no.
smell.
I'm just glad
Oh.
that, yeah. I originally thought someone was coughing a lot, like coughing. I didn't realize what was happening, thank God, until the end of the flight. And then I was like, oh man. And at first it's like, ugh. And then it's like, oh God, that poor person, But anyways, so I don't know if that was related to what happened with us, but I'm thinking maybe because only 2 people out of the 5 of us got sick. The first one was my daughter. So we were out in Bangkok, our first full day there, and it's very humid in Bangkok, like very hot and humid. And so we had been out in the heat for a long time, and she starts to kind of not feel good. So we make our way back to the hotel. The thing to know about Bangkok is there's so much traffic. So even though something could just be like a couple of miles away, it's going to take you a long time to get there if you want to take a taxi or whatever. Or they also have some public transportation. So we took public transportation because I told my husband, if she's going to throw up, I do not want it to happen in someone's car. I'd rather it happen on a train, So we take the train back to the hotel. Again, we are in the elevator of the Park Hyatt going up to our room, and my husband is carrying her because she doesn't feel good. And she just whispers to him, Daddy, I think I'm going to throw up. And he's like, okay, like we're almost to the room. And he's like 2 seconds later, just all over him in the elevator of the Park Hyatt. So we're like, oh no. And there is a man on the elevator with us frantically trying to push the button to get off.
To get off. Let me out.
It's like, I'm so sorry, sir. So anyways, they go into our room and into the shower, and I call down to the front desk to let them know there was an accident in the elevator and so sorry and whatever. And so, I mean, I call from the phone on the hotel floor. Like, I don't call from our room. Yeah, every hotel has like a phone by the elevator. I don't know. So they're like, oh yeah, we see you're on the 20th floor. And I'm like, yep. And so then we go into our room, and maybe 20 minutes later, the front desk calls and is like, I'm so sorry that your daughter is sick. Do you need anything? Do you need a doctor? Do you need like anything? And I'm like, wow. Like, first of all, they must have watched the camera and been like, oh, those are the people in this room.
That's the sunburned lady with the flip-flops from check-in.
Yeah. Yeah. And
no.
like, that was really kind. We're like, wow, that's so nice. And so I'm like, no, we're fine. And she ends up being sick the rest of that night. So my husband takes the kids to the pool, and they're whatever. I'm just staying with her in the room. She seems fine overnight. And so we go to breakfast the next morning, and we check in for breakfast. And as a side note, we do have globalist status. And so, but a guest of honor would also cover your breakfast here. The breakfast was phenomenal. They have a mango sticky rice station at the breakfast buffet, which, like, it was my favorite thing. And we ate mango sticky rice every single day in Thailand, at least one time. That was my like fixation for the trip. And so breakfast was phenomenal, but we go to check in, and as soon as we tell them who we are, they address it again. Oh, I hope your daughter's feeling better. We're like, wow, that's so nice. So they seat us. And by the way, what is a very fancy breakfast area. And then someone else comes over with a teddy bear for my daughter and is like, oh, we hope you feel better. It has a Park Hyatt Bangkok like bow around it. And I'm just like, wow. Like, my husband's like, wow, this is really nice service. So she seems fine. We eat breakfast, but she doesn't feel very good. So her and I stayed in the room that day, and she just watched TV. And my husband took the boys out, and they went and played video games and whatever, hung out with his friend. It was fine. I ended up ordering room service, and the room service at this hotel was very good. So I would recommend that. Okay. And I was like, the benefit of staying in a nice hotel like this is that I am stuck here, but I do not really mind.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
Like,
Soak
it was
in.
very nice. Yeah. So we had room service. That was great, actually. And she seems better. So we're like, fantastic. I want to go to the Grand Palace. That is the one thing I wanted to do in Bangkok. So we have plans to go there the next day. We wake up. It's our last full day before we fly home. We take a taxi, which is they have Grab in Thailand, which is basically like Uber. That's how we got around. And so we take a Grab, and it, again, takes 45 minutes, even though it's not very far because of traffic. And by the time we get there, again, she's like, I don't feel good. And I'm like, what? And so I steal the motion sickness bags from airplanes. I take them.
Yeah, well,
and
good idea.
I had one, and I gave it to her, and she threw up on the sidewalk right outside the Grand Palace. And I was like, well, we're not seeing that today.
Oh, no.
So anyways, so then at this point, we're like, maybe it's like something from the heat. Because as soon as she got back out in the heat is when she started not feeling well. So we're like, maybe it's not a stomach bug. Maybe it's just, whatever. So we ended up spending the day indoors, going around to different malls. Bangkok has a lot of malls. I think it's very hot. And so that is what there is to do. Indoor air-conditioned malls. And like, I don't know. That's what we did a lot of.
Okay. Good to know.
So we go through the whole day. Everyone is fine. That night is Friday night, and we leave Saturday. Okay. We say goodbye to our friends. We go up to start packing. And my 12-year-old says, I don't feel very good.
Oh, my goodness.
And
this
I'm
is
just
beyond like the worst nightmare situation.
Yes. And I'm
about
just
to get on a 17-hour flight.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So he also is sick, and I'll spare you all the details, but basically at around midnight, my husband has to call housekeeping because he was asleep and got sick in the bed. And so housekeeping had to come and clean it up. And at that point, we notice that he's throwing up a little bit of blood.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was what prompted us to be like, okay, like we probably need to go to the ER.
Yeah.
Just in case. And so when we had to call housekeeping, they had said, do you need a doctor? We're like, no, it's fine. But then we ended up being like, oh yeah, we actually need the doctor. So my husband calls down, and they're like, oh yeah, hold on, we'll connect you to our doctor. And then just like in 10 seconds, someone is like, hello?
There's an
And he's like,
in-house doctor for the Park Hyatt.
I guess so. And they answered at midnight very quickly. And so he describes the situation and they are like, yep, we think that you need to go to the emergency room. They recommend this one international like hospital that's just a few minutes away. And so we're like, okay, fine. We decide that my husband should be the one to take him. Normally I do more medical stuff, but it's Thailand and it's midnight and
Yep.
my son is like bigger than me. So I'm like, if he needs support or something, I can't lift him or anything. So my husband does it. They send a wheelchair to our door. He gets in the wheelchair. They go downstairs. We're on like the 20th floor and there is a taxi waiting. The taxi drives them to the ER. I think they get there. By the time they get there, it's like 1 a.m. They are seen by the doctor. Everything was said and done and he was back by 3 a.m. Medication.
Stop.
Yes.
You wouldn't
no
have
more
even
than 2
been
hours
done
before.
in the
I
waiting
know.
room in America.
I said, this
That's
is a 6 to 8 hour affair in America for sure and
Yeah.
cost thousands of dollars. So they
Yes.
gave him some antibiotics, some IV fluids, some Zofran for the nausea.
Good.
And you know what? It would have been even shorter, but they had to wait 30 minutes to make sure he didn't throw up again after they gave him a certain medication. And then he was fine to go. So
Oh my gosh.
that medication, I firmly believe, is the only reason we made it through our flight home with no issues. Thank the Lord.
Yep.
But like the level of service from the Park Hyatt was so incredible that we are still talking about it. Like I just was like,
Amazing.
wow, like that was crazy. Like they made everything so simple for us. So
That is
Yeah, to
such high
have that
praise.
support on what has to be, such I would imagine a very low point in life where you're like, I am in another country, my kids are sick, I don't have anything to clean. I can imagine that's such a horrible feeling, and to have them rise up and support you in so many ways, that's what makes a Park Hyatt a Park Hyatt. I mean, that's excellent to hear that they truly lived up to that level of care and support. So with this, and you talked about it up at the top of the episode, submitting claims. You had to submit a claim for luggage. Now with this, an ER bill. So how did that work? Were you able with trip insurance from any of these credit cards? Because on this trip, you used the Amex Platinum, I guess, for this hotel stay in particular. So did you go through the Amex Platinum for medical coverage?
So I did not. So we pay for an annual plan through Allianz, and for all five of us to cover us for the entire year, it was $485. And so a couple of years ago when we went to Costa Rica, we had another issue, and I had on a whim bought a policy through Allianz just for that trip. And we did end up having expenses that we had to claim that were medical, also for the same kid, ironically. And we had a really good experience. So when we started doing more international travel, I started getting the annual plan from them just as really more of like a second tier of coverage, more for medical than anything else. And so my initial thought was, I'm going to claim all the baggage stuff on my Chase Sapphire Reserve because that's what I used for all the taxes and fees for all of our flights. And then I'm going to do the medical on Allianz. That was my plan. We even bought all of my husband's clothes and new suitcase with the CSR just in case. But then when I was filling out the claim on Allianz, I realized I could do everything all at the same time in one claim. So I thought, you know what? Let me just try it all and see. And that way it's just one thing I have to submit and we'll see what happens. So I was able to submit stolen luggage. And our receipts were like $700, I think. He needed a new suitcase and some clothing, and maybe he bought a souvenir shirt that he would have bought anyways, and we claimed that maybe. He was like, I should have bought sneakers. And I'm like, well, we weren't sure. So we claimed all the clothing and luggage expenses under lost and stolen luggage. And then I claimed all the medical expenses, which were around $500. If anyone's curious, that's around what it cost for all the medication, the emergency night visit. Yes, that's it. Everything.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I'm like, even if they don't cover it, I feel fine about that. But yes. And what I had to upload was pretty minimal. And they paid out the medical claim very quickly. The luggage claim, they actually were like, we need a police report. And I was like, a police report? So I called and spoke to someone and I said, let me explain the situation because I don't have a police report. And so once I explained the situation, the guy was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Like, let me send a note to the adjuster. And within a day or two, they paid that one too. So they paid
Okay.
everything. It was over $1,200 in items that we had to claim between the baggage and the medical, and they paid it all out. So
That's amazing. And does this travel insurance cover every single trip you take for the whole year, or is there like a cap on it? Or, I mean, how much?
yeah, so it covers us for the entire year. There are caps around the coverage. To be honest, I'm unclear if those are per trip or per year, but we've never had an issue.
For under $500 for a family of 5 for a whole year, that's
Yeah.
incredible. I mean,
This is
also,
very timely for me, I will say, because literally today, just last night, I was pricing out coverage for my family's upcoming international trip for insurance. And my husband is very wonderful, but he's not one to just have tons and tons of extra insurance. And he's kind of like, I mean, is this really necessary? And I've just had to tell him because he doesn't listen to this podcast. Listen, I have interviewed a lot of people on this podcast now, and more than ever, I feel confident that I want this insurance because I've heard a lot of things that have gone wrong, and it's better to be safe than sorry. And I feel like as a mom now, hearing all these stories, I will have too much anxiety traveling if I think we may not be covered, that I think it's just worth it to price out insurance, go ahead and get it. It's really less expensive than you may think.
yes, yeah. And don't forget, guys, our friend Lisa, we love her, chasingmemories.co on Instagram. She can help you price out insurance, and she is an expert at points trips. So if you're pricing for a specific trip, she knows how to mess with all the numbers and adjust it to where it is not costing you an arm and a leg because it thinks you paid a bunch of cash for a trip, because that part doesn't really need to be covered because you don't need to be reimbursed if something gets canceled. You just get your points back. She's very, very good at it, knowledgeable in the points world and the insurance world at the same time. So we'll link her in the show notes if you want to research that. And I don't know, maybe she has a way to do yearly policies as well. We haven't asked her.
They do.
Okay.
I did notice that as I was pricing it out for myself last night. As we're wrapping up here, what are the helpful, you mentioned Grab, that you guys used Grab, which is like Uber. I know that through your stories I saw with all of this illness, you were able to get your laundry done before you flew home, which was great since people had been sick. What are some of the other helpful apps or tools that people may find very helpful when they're in Thailand?
Yeah, so the laundry thing, I actually texted my husband. I was like, what was the name of the company that you used? My husband is in charge of all of our laundry at home and when we travel. And this is how we're able to do carry-on only when we take longer trips, is because we always do laundry somewhere in the middle. And usually it's him going to the laundromat. But in Thailand, laundry sent out and done for you is very affordable. So we did it twice, actually. So in Koh Samui, he used Samui Wash and Dry. And in Bangkok, it was called Wash Drop. I really think that he just Googled like laundry places, and they had easy websites that you could use, and you don't talk to anyone. You just put in, the amount of laundry that you have, like where you're staying. Do you want them to pick it up? Do you want them to drop it off? Like all those things. And they just bring it back to you, washed, folded, like wrapped, everything. It was so nice. And it was not that expensive.
That's the worst part of coming home from vacation, is when you come home with suitcases full of dirty clothes and it's just weighing on you that you've got to clean them all. So the idea, and it makes sense. Even if it was a little pricey, you've spent all this money and time and effort on vacation. Get your clothes cleaned before. That's like, I can see as like a mom, that would be the one luxury that would just be so great to come home and everything is already clean. It's not like you're coming home to this burden of having to do laundry. I think that is fantastic.
Ask me if I have unpacked and washed the suitcase from my last trip. Ask me. I have not.
I know the answer's no.
I have been pulling pieces out of there bit by bit when I need to wash them and wear them, which is insane. That's insane. But it's so overwhelming to my brain. I just like throw them in a spare room and I'm like, I'll deal with that when I need to use that suitcase again or if I really need something that's in there. But I don't really need Puerto Vallarta clothes in my regular life. So it just hasn't been an issue.
I'll go on the record, Joe. It's June as of the date of this recording. It's the middle of June almost. And when I just went on the trip with my son, I had to take more things out, finish unpacking from our April trip to New Mexico, Albuquerque, in order to pack for our weekend trip. So I am very guilty. That was about 2 months, and the only reason I did it is to repack.
We do not judge. We listen and we do not judge. And honestly, if I hadn't had a trip in the middle of the one I'm about to go on and that one, it would be the same. I don't know why it's so overwhelming. It doesn't actually take that long, but for whatever reason, anyways, if I'm ever at an Airbnb with a laundry machine, you better believe I'm doing a full load of laundry and bringing back everything clean. It is one of my favorite things to do. It makes such a difference. So, this has been such an incredible episode. I really wish that we had time to like dig into more of like what you ate and where people should, other activities and stuff like that. But we wanted to make sure we got the highlights of where you stayed and how you got there. And we also wanted to make sure to tell these stories because, this is real life. And you're going to encounter things, and it's good to hear these stories so people can hopefully have an understanding of how they could handle a similar situation or, what coverages they could have to help make it easier. So thanks for sharing.
Instagram versus reality.
Right.
Yeah. I can share a couple quick highlights food-wise. So I tried something called cow soy, which is basically like a northern Thai curry dish, except it's noodles, and it was delicious. I had it several times while we were there, and we also found this Thai restaurant near us after we got back, and I've also ordered it from there, and it is very good. So would highly recommend that. We also, as far as our kids go and food, our kids are pretty adventurous eaters. But I feel like they just had a lot of fried chicken and rice on this trip, which they also really enjoy. So, there's fresh fruit like everywhere. The mango sticky rice was my favorite. Yeah. So, I think there's a lot of options.
What do you recommend people budget for a trip like this? It was 12 days and, you had all your booked things. But as far as like what people need to prepare for to feed a family of 5 for that many days, did you feel like it was, people always talk about Thailand being really affordable, but like the elephant excursion and the boat and that kind of stuff is fairly pricey when you're multiplying it times 5. So it would be interesting to know if you felt like the food was affordable overall.
Yeah, so I use the Travel Spend app to keep track of trip expenses, and I'm pretty sure I have most of our expenses in here. So, but I guess take this with a grain of salt. If it seems absolutely unbelievable, maybe I forgot some things because we've been home a few months now, so I don't know. The excursions were expensive. The boat ride was expensive. I thought the elephant tour was, a little bit pricey, but those were really the only 2 things that we paid like out of pocket for in terms of activities. The food was very affordable. And what was interesting was it got more affordable as we went. So Phuket was the most expensive, which is what I had read also. And that turned out to be true. Koh Samui was much more affordable. And then Bangkok was actually even more affordable than Koh Samui. So we probably wouldn't go back to Phuket, just quite frankly. It just was very expensive compared to the rest of Thailand. And I don't think you get anything better there, We would go back to Koh Samui and we would go back to Bangkok. I also want to go to Chiang Mai, which is northern Thailand. Excuse me, sorry. But maybe that's for the next trip. In terms of taxis and transportation, because we needed 5, there is a much cheaper option when you look. Same with Uber, right? The option that can fit 4 is obviously cheaper because you need a bigger car to fit 5. Sometimes, though, a car is going to show up and you're going to have to put your kid on your lap in Thailand. Yep. That's what I learned. Yep.
Okay.
And so at one point that happened and I was saying to the guy, no, but we have 5. He was like, yeah, it's fine. it's fine. And my husband was like,
Is
I'll
it
just
fine?
hold her. It's fine. And I was like,
Okay.
I don't know. In terms of food, so I have under restaurants, I have that we spend around $1,000 total for 2 weeks on food. Keep in mind,
That's
all of our
incredible.
breakfasts were free. All of our breakfasts everywhere we went were included. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that seems pretty affordable to me
Yeah,
for
for a
a
family
family
of
of 5
5 for
for
12
2
days
weeks.
on a
Yeah.
vacation. Yeah, incredible. I love that. I'm also going to look into that app because I am feeling like that's probably a good idea for tracking expenses, especially business expenses.
Yep.
Okay, so where are you guys going next? I know you have been working hard because we chat offline sometimes about earning points and miles, and you guys have a nice little chunk of points and miles to spend. So where are you using them next?
So we have a couple more international trips coming up for the rest of this year. So we are in about a week going to London and Scotland. And my mom and sister are actually coming with us. So I planned this trip for 7, which was even harder than it was to plan for 5. But I think it'll be really fun, I hope. And we're doing a mix of points, hotels, and Airbnbs because we have 7. And
Keep
in the
easy.
yeah, and in the Scotland or Scottish Highlands, like there's really no points options. So
Correct. Right.
we are flying economy there, but business class home. And
All
it will
7
7?
people?
6 people. My sister lives on the East Coast, so she's flying home separately, and she refused to pay the taxes on the business class. She said, "I'm going to fly economy," and I said, "That's fine." But yeah, so it will be my mom's first business class flight, so I'm really excited for her to
Oh,
experience that. And so I think that'll be really good. And then later this year in the fall, we're going to Switzerland and Rome.
oh my goodness. Amazing.
We're flying business class both ways on that trip, and I'm also really excited for that.
That is
I
going,
really meant it
oh,
when I said no more economy flights internationally.
that's going
Nope.
to be so incredible. I did think it was so funny in one of your stories. You were like, I seated the kids together and they're practicing for when mom and dad are up in business class. And I was like,
Yes.
yes, make them
Yes.
earn it. I'm taking my daughter to Ireland in business class literally next month, and I think it's ridiculous. Like, absolutely ridiculous. She should not be allowed to do such a thing at 14. But we're
100%.
having,
Yes.
we're doing it, and it's
I
going to be
know.
all
I'm like,
over. She'll
listen,
never fly.
you get to go business until you're old enough, and then it's to the back of the plane with you.
That's
Because I
right.
mean, I feel like when my daughter's like 10, my boys will be 13 and 16, and I feel like they could all easily fly in economy in one row of
Yes.
3 by themselves while we're, 20 feet
Yes.
ahead of them. I feel like it would be fine.
Correct. And their little bodies do not require the same level. They don't get sore. They don't get stiff knees and bad backs.
Swollen.
They're fine. They're fine.
Exactly. And I
All
think that
right.
it would be fun for them to not have parents around,
This is true. Exercise that
Yeah.
independence. I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about this. This is such an awesome trip, and I wish that we could get into the details more, but I feel like this will give people a great starting place for knowing what to try out and maybe what to avoid as they're building a similar trip. Guys, make sure you are following Rhea in all the places, Travel Party of 5, wherever you find podcasts, and also on her Instagram, which is Travel Party of 5. I will link everything in the show notes, as well as the things that we talked about today. She said she would give us links for. I'll drop those below. Make sure you check those out. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. I did just think of one more thing to add really quickly. If you heard this story and you were like terrified of traveling internationally with children because of how many things went wrong, I just want to say that let it be known that we are still traveling internationally after this trip. And when things happen like this, I really feel like it builds up your muscle of like how to
Yes.
handle things. And it
Yes.
just makes you a better traveler, but like no regrets. As many things that went wrong, we have no regrets. So don't
I
let it
love
scare you.
that. I love that positivity. Don't stop traveling. Don't be afraid of things going wrong. Go with the flow. All right, guys, we will see you here next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to plan your next trip.
Remember, we're travelers sharing our experiences, not financial advisors, so always do your own research and make informed decisions.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a Points and Miles tip.
We'll see you next time on Wonderland on Points.